3406.
Hi, and thank you for coming back to my channel. Before I begin the video, this is something I wanted to say. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel and supporting me. It means a lot. I really enjoy what I'm doing here, and I hope to have your support to continue. So today we're going to see another radio from Baofeng that they were kind enough to send me, and I have to say thank you for their continuous support and cooperation. It's one of the models that go around a lot these days, the UV5RM Plus GPS. There is some controversy about these models because they are a renamed model, so this is also known as the UV5RH Pro GPS. But the official name for this one is UV5RM Plus GPS. And let's do the unboxing first and see some details later. Okay, here we have, let me turn this way, user manual. A lot of things to see here. Don't throw away those. Half of your questions will be answered in here, believe me. Okay, a rubber ducky antenna. Okay, a classic rubber ducky VHF UHF antenna. USB-C charging cable +1 for this radio. We have gone to the era that every radio has a USB-C charging capability, and that's pretty good. A headphone. Okay, USB charger for the USB-C cable. And the radio, of course, with battery clip. And here is the battery. As you can see, it's a 2500 milliamp battery. And here is the USB charging port, the USB-C charging port, protected by a rubber cap. Very nice. Alright, let's put that in. The construction is the same as the 5RH Pro, as you know already, or maybe you have noticed, I don't know, maybe you have the 5RH model. I think they are exactly the same. Have 3 buttons here. These 2 are programmable, long press and short press. We're going to see them later in the menu system or the CPS. Standard input here, Kenwood plug for programming, and classic Baofeng buttons, VFO memory change. Okay. AB banks. This is the frequency scan button, pretty conveniently put here for immediate access, and you can go into the menu system from the green button here. The menu system is kind of different from the classic older Baofengs like the 5R. It's separated in sections, which is not bad, of course. I kind of found this pretty interesting and quite quick to learn. So this radio has zones. It's separate banks of memories that you can store your memories in and separate them in different categories. It's helpful, believe me. So in the menu you can choose for each bank, the upper or down VFO, which zone do you need activated at the time. So we are in the menu system here. If I press again the green button, we go into the zones. I have already passed some zones so I can make the tests that I wanted. As you can see, they are separated here: PMR, GMRS, my repeaters, the airband frequencies. We'll talk about those a lot later. My personal frequencies, APRS, also we'll talk about this later, and some SOS frequencies here in Greece. So going back to the menu, the next item is scan. And here you can select the types of scan this radio can do. It has some options that you can change, frequency scan or memory scan, the channels that you have passed in the zones. If you scan the memories in the zones, each scan runs in the zone that you have selected and loops around it. Here are the main radio settings. As you can see, pretty usual stuff: squelch, power save, Vox, timeout timer. Oh, this is the timeout alert. How many seconds before the timeout timer it will warn you. Very nice feature. Voice, yes, of course. Chinese and English. Okay, let me activate the English for now. Language, of course. The beep sounds, the ones that you hear now. Roger. Backlight. The brightness. Here I have set it to maximum, which is number 5. I would really like a brighter screen on this one, I have to say that. You have to understand that in some countries, like Greece, that we have a lot of sunshine, a dark screen doesn't help very much. We need a pretty bright screen, and also, although I know that inverted screens are kind of all the fuss at the moment, believe me, in bright sunlight it's not easily readable. Apart from that, it's pretty fine. Power on display, again here, classic radio options in most of the Chinese radios. Picture, message and voltage. You can change the picture, of course, the logo in the CPS program and the message that it displays if you want to display a message. Power on message, you can change it here also from the menu. This is the direction, it says dear. It's the direction of the display. This is standard and the translation is not as accurate as it should. As usual, this is the standard display, and if you press the fail, as it says fail, and select it, the display goes upside down. This is useful in cases that you have your radio upside down hooked somewhere and you're talking with maybe a shoulder mic. So it rotates the display 180 degrees so you can read it easier if you have it attached somewhere. Okay, let's change that back to standard. Options about the VFOs and how they are displayed, name, frequency or both. Dual watch, of course, auto lock, alarm mode, ID verification. This has to do with various contacts and DTMF codes that you can store in the CPS. Side tone, PTT ID, PTT delay, alert, tail. And here are the programmable side buttons, the upper one and the down one. As you can see, here is the short press, press SK1, and the long press. And if you go inside, you will find all the options that are available for those keys. Right now I have the long press in the upper button to activate the GPS. I will show you later why. FM radio, of course. APO. APO is a feature that I haven't seen in another radio. It looks very interesting. It's something that you can set and the radio will deactivate itself after a set time of minutes. So after the period that you set here in minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 120 and so on, if there's no use of the radio, it will turn off. That's what the APO stands for, automatic power off. Interesting thing, I haven't seen it in other Baofeng radios and I thought, okay, sometimes it could be useful. Password, okay, you can set a password here for using your radio when it boots up. And the reset menu, of course, where you can reset all your radio to the factory state. The next menu option is program channel. Here you can edit anything that has to do with the saved memories. Pretty usual stuff. Receive frequency, transmit power bandwidth, CTCSS. Here's an interesting menu, radio info. You can see the version of your radio here. Here are some DTMF codes and you can set also a name for your radio. The next menu is the GPS. It's written as GNSS here in the menu, and if we go inside we can select if it's going to be on or off. Just be careful, of course, it uses some of your battery to work. Here's the GPS info. Here you can see your position, if it has worked for some time and has caught the satellites. Share and request position. These menus are used when you want to share your position with another radio of this kind, and these two modes are used for that. You can activate them and you can send your location and receive the location of another user with the same radio. And here of course we have the PRS on or off. I'm gonna set it off at the moment and we're gonna see later how it works. And time zone. You can find in the manual in which time zone you should put this, depending to your country. It helps the GPS to work as it should. Here I have set it to 2 for Greece. And another menu is NOAA weather, of course. I won't activate this because we don't have NOAA weather here in Europe.
Menu.
And that was the last option of the menu. So, before I continue, first impressions. Pretty sturdy radio. The build quality seems good. Heavy plastics, and I really like the two programmable buttons here. From what I noticed, it doesn't have a LED flashlight, just for some people that might use it. And let's see some of the functions and how it works. One thing that I always test in radios is the frequency scan. It's a pretty good feature that I always want to have at hand, so we're gonna test this here. Let's see the green button. We just press it and it starts searching. That's great, pretty quick. And let's see if I press in another radio, if I key up. There you go, got it. That was really fast. And from what I can see, you can save also that here and select a memory channel that you want it to be saved. Let's do another one. Again, pretty fast with no CTSS code at this time. And now let's do a power test, quite important for most of us. This is advertised as a 10-watt radio. Let's see how it performs. Okay, first I'm gonna test the frequency at 145 point something megahertz to see what it outputs in VHF. And we have 7.2 watts. Okay, 7.6. So it's not 10 watts, it's close, but in the frequency that I sent, it's 7.6 watts. Now let's see a UHF frequency. The frequency is 439,700. And here we have 8.82 watts. So UHF band is stronger in this one at 8 watts. So that's that. It goes up to 7 to 8 watts. Before I continue, just a quick airband test for receiving airband. We're going to see later how to program airbands here, because in the CPS we have a small problem, but there is a way to go around it, so no problem. I will connect this radio to my external antenna. The filtering system is not very good, that's why I'm using an FM band stop filter, as I have shown in other videos of mine. You can check them out and see why this is happening and how you can overcome it. So pretty quick, I'm going to change here to VFO.
Frequency mode.
This is near the Volmet frequency here in Athens, and I will connect my external antenna with the band stop filter. And yes. And as you can hear, it started receiving immediately.
Channel mode.
And also, if I can change the zone to my airband zone.
5. Approximately 5 minutes, and contact us at Macedonia 132375. Helipros use. Express 8 Victor Whiskey, Ankara 128-925. Flight 370 Lima, Yasas radar contact from Macedonia 370.
As you can see, pretty clear.
0 Lima, in 20 minutes there is converging traffic. May be able for 30 for a while if needed.
As you can see, pretty clear reception, even though my antenna is not tuned for airband.
You keep WFT contact power 136275.
And another one here at 132 MHz, Athens arrivals. Right, so it needs a band stop filter to receive correctly. I would prefer the filtering system to be better, but it's a handheld radio. We're not supposed to hook them to external antennas. With its own antenna, and if you're in the right range, it can receive airband just fine. So again, that settles it. And now I will connect it to my laptop and let's see how to program it with the CPS and also some extra stuff that I have for you in this video. So now I have connected UV5RM Plus GPS to my laptop and we are going to see the CPS programming and some quirks about it, and also how to solve the airband receiver issue if you have one. My UV5RM Plus GPS came with the ability to input airband frequencies in the VFO, but I couldn't save them through the CPS. This is a problem of the CPS software, I guess. Fortunately, there's a solution to that. We will see it now. And also some other tips and tricks that you can do from the CPS. Now, something I'm going to say a lot of times during this video is don't do anything stupid. Don't take it personally, but please don't do anything stupid. If you don't know what you're doing, because we're going to mess with the save files of the CPS to modify the radio, if you're not sure about what you're doing, please don't do it. However, I'm going to show you all the things in the CPS that are hackable, also how the APRS function works in these radios, and hopefully it will help you out. In the description of the video you will find a link to the manual of the radio, as always, and a link to Baofeng's sites to download the CPS software. Unfortunately, this radio at the moment is not supported by chip. I'm really hoping, since other similar models are supported, it's going to be soon enough, but at the moment it's not. We have to use the CPS of Baofeng. The version that is distributed in Baofeng's site has the name of UV5RM Plus GPS, but if you open it inside you will see that it has the title of 5RH Pro. I already have installed the CPS in my computer and let's have a look. I have also connected my radio with an FTDI cable to the laptop, and let's see some things here. As I told you before, here you can see that the CPS is titled 5RH Pro. Let's continue here. As my radio came, the receive frequencies and the transmit frequencies were locked into those frequencies here. So in receive we have the VHF and UHF bands, the 2 meter and the 70 centimeter band, and also we have a range from 220 to 260 and 350 to 390 megahertz. And in transmission we have also 2 meters and 70 centimeters and the 200 frequency to 20 to 260. Now this can be changed and I will show you how in a moment. Right now I will download what is written in my radio so you can see the changes. As I told you, I have already connected the radio. Some of the options up here are pretty usual, like this one to change the boot picture. We have seen it in other videos, nothing special, nothing really hard to do. And let's read the data from the radio. Again, we have to select the COM port. Success. Okay. Now, this is my radio. As you can see here, the software version and the hardware version. This is today's date down here. And as you can see, I have modified the frequencies of receive and transmit. I will say it again, don't do anything stupid. If you are unsure about this and afraid to do it and believe it will break your radio, don't do it. I'm just showing you the way how to. If something happens, please don't blame Baofeng or me. All I can say is that I have done it in my radio, I have no problem so far, everything works okay. And here you can see the receive frequencies are, I put a number from 18 megahertz to 200, 200 to 350. Actually, it's all the range from 18 megahertz to 600 megahertz. You will ask that, does it have any point to be from 18 megahertz? Maybe no, but I just put it there. Maybe with an appropriate antenna you can receive something on those frequencies. Now, about the transmit frequencies, I could have also changed those, but I didn't. I changed them a bit just to have a wider band selection, but I didn't put frequencies like airband inside for transmission. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. So, going on. Let's see what the menu system of the CPS is and does. This is the first item, device information, this window here. The second one is settings, and here you can change all the settings that you can in the radio, the two bands work mode, VFO or memory, voice, power save, everything that's in the menu of the radio is here also. There are some things here that I'm not sure what they are because they're not in the menu or in the manual, but I left them in the default values. So here we have an enhanced function. It was on, so I left it as it is. I guess, of course, we want the enhanced function. I don't know what it is, but I left it on. This is the display reversal that we showed in the video before, standard or reversed. The automatic power off, we just leave it in off here. We don't want our radio to turn off unless there is a reason for that, so you can change it. Squelch and stuff. Okay, the next tab is more settings, and here we have some other settings that I left them as they were by default, except those values over here, which I changed them to my liking. These are the short and long press programmable buttons on the side, so you can choose whatever you want here. What it says here, frequency measuring, is actually the scan function that we already showed in the video. There's no need to have it here as a double. Maybe I will put another option here. The long press of the upper button, I set it to GPS to activate it or deactivate it quickly. As I said, this is a function that will get some of your battery, so be careful. The short press of the second programmable button is monitor, opening the squelch, and I put in the long press to change the power of the set frequency to low, high or medium depending on the situation. The GPS function here, I set it to disable, so I can enable it by long pressing the top button in the radio. And let's see the other options. Here is the zone system. As you can see, we have 10 zones, so you can create 10 groups of frequencies that you prefer. If you open that, you will see again what you have in your radio, change the name, and it will also show you how many channels you're using in each group from the maximum of 64 channels in each group. So in total, this radio can support 640 channels. For example, here is the first group that I programmed, PMR GMRS, all the PMR and GMRS frequencies. Here are some SOS functions for Greece. The APRS frequency, I put it in a group by itself, number 9, in zone 9, so I can switch to it quickly, and I don't need to have another frequency there to be confused and transmit APRS packet data to another frequency by mistake. So you can complete those to your liking. Down here we have the two VFO settings. Again, this is how to set your VFOs for frequency mode. Scan setting, also this is in the menu of the radio that you can change. The next settings are mostly for DTMF and various tone encoders, which I'm not using, so I left them out. Maybe it will be useful to some of you. You will know what to do if they are. And this is the APRS setting. Now, I did a lot of tests for the APRS setting. I saw some videos online that tried to do some configuration here in this APRS window, but something was off in the way that APRS should work with this radio. So I did a lot of tests, sending packets to aprs.fi, the site where we can see the map of the APRS packets. And what I found out is that what you need in those boxes to make the UV5RM plus GPS to be able to transmit generic APRS data and GPS location are those settings here. You don't have to put specific call signs here, as I have seen in other videos. I wanted the radio to be a general APRS beacon transmitting my data, transmitting my position to any APRS receiver around me, that it would forward it to the whole network. So the correct values here is to put your call sign here, to set an extension here according to APRS rules. For instance, I have set -7 here, which is a mobile station, a moving station, for when I tested it. And your target should be wide 1-1 and the second one wide 2-1. This way, when your radio achieves GPS fix, it will send the APRS packet encoded correctly to any APRS receiver around you and will be transmitted to the whole APRS network. I'm doing a live test to those settings. I have turned on the APRS in the radio and the GPS position. However, I don't have a GPS fix, so the APRS packet won't contain a valid location, but you can see those packets live in the aprs.fi website. Let's have a look. As you can see, those packets here are from 2 days before, where I did another test with a valid location, and those two packets were received just now at the moment I'm creating the video. Of course they are red, they are invalid because the location is not present, since I don't have a GPS fix in my radio. But that's the easy part. When you get outside, the Baofeng will get a GPS fix, and with the wide 1-1 and wide 2-1 settings, it will transmit your location to any APRS receiver that's around you and forward it to the network. That's what we're trying to achieve here. Not only APRS to APRS communication between two individuals. Again, as you see, when I refresh the page, I get the next packet. My radio continues to broadcast, still without a valid location, but it doesn't matter. The packets are received normally. And here you can see the test that I did when I was on the road. Those packets that I showed you before that were valid. As you can see, I had my Baofeng set to on, I had a GPS fix, and it tracked my location as I was moving with the car. It was sending this location in about every minute, and I was received by APRS receivers in the area and transmitted to the APRS network. So for me, this is how to use the APRS setting in 5RM plus GPS radio. Okay, we can go back to the CPS. I am showing again once more the settings that I have used successfully. Don't forget to put your call sign here and the status of your APRS beacon. Those timings worked for me just fine. Since we're here, I'd like also to explain why I put the GPS on-off setting to the upper programmable button with a long press. This is why I have also the APRS setting enabled all the time. So when I long press the upper orange button, it activates the GPS and immediately starts transmitting APRS packets. And if I want to stop it, I just long press it again and all those functions here stop. Now let's go back to the modification of the CPS to accommodate especially the reception frequencies that you see up here. With that modification, you can also easily input airbag frequencies here and be accepted normally to upload to your radio. So in order to do this, I found a modified save file of the CPS that someone has uploaded and had already modified those frequencies to his liking, a bit different from my own here. And I wanted to see how this was possible and how it was done. You don't have to do this. I will put in the description of the video a link to a generic save file without any frequencies inside, but with those frequencies here enabled. So you can download it, open it from the CPS, and those frequencies here will be already there for you. You can change the zones after that and input your frequencies here and upload this file to your radio. So those settings here will be applied. And now it's time for another disclaimer in this video. So if you open a save file of the CPS, the XLC file with a hex editor, you will see in the beginning of the file those bytes here. The ones marked in red are the receive frequencies and the ones marked in yellow are the transmit frequencies. And I was surprised to find that they were kind of easily read out. For instance, in the original file we had 136 MHz. The first range was 136 MHz to 174 MHz, and you can see those frequencies here. It's the first two marked bytes here is 136, it goes backwards here, megahertz. Again, the next pair was 200 megahertz to 260 megahertz. The other one was 350 megahertz to 399 megahertz. The same also happens for the transmit frequencies. So I made the appropriate changes here. I saved the file. And this is how you get the frequencies that you want over here. And don't go crazy with your transmit frequencies. You will break your radio. Now, regarding some of the options of the radio that are hidden or changed from the 5RH Pro radio, for instance, the Bluetooth. In this radio we don't have Bluetooth. Some people were searching for it, they didn't find the menu. It's here, it's hidden because there's no Bluetooth chip in this radio. You don't have to activate it. There are two menus here in the CPS that are password protected, here in the programmable. Those two menus over there, frequency range and embed information. After checking a bit the code of the CPS, I found this function in the code. So figuring out the passwords from this code was pretty easy. After all, I have to say that ham radio is for experimenting, and I believe that ham radio operators should be also a bit of hackers. Don't get me wrong, the word hacker has changed its meaning the past few years. I'm 50 years old, and what the word hacker resonates to me is one that tinkers with things, any things, and makes them work. So that's what I apply to my daily life. So finding those passwords were something I had to do. The clever thing here is that the password is not fixed, it changes daily. So that's exactly what it is, the date of the day that you open the program. For instance, here in the frequency range, if I put today's date in full digits and press OK, it unlocks and it presents me with the dialog to select the frequency range that this radio can operate. And as you can see, we have those options here, depending on the area that you are in. Of course, factory is unlocked to all frequencies, and that's how my radio came. Please don't do anything that you're not allowed to do in your country. I have to stress that one more time. And the last menu that was protected by password was this one, embed information. This menu here is a bit more dangerous, so be extra careful, don't change anything. I just opened it to see what was in it. I would suggest to not change anything. Here again, the password is the date of the day in full digits, but backwards. So you have to write, for instance, 225.03 for the month and 19 for the day. And you press OK. And then we have those selections here. As you can see, we can't change those, but we can change those. And I'm going to say it one more time, do not change them. I'm just showing them to you. For instance, I could activate the Bluetooth here, and after I save those settings in the radio, you will see the Bluetooth menu in your radio, but it will not work because it doesn't have a Bluetooth chip. Also, even if I activated the flash here, it wouldn't work because it doesn't have a LED flash in its hardware. So there's no point in changing any of those. Maybe change only the frequency range if needed. Okay, so as I said before, you will find a link with a file in the description of the video that when you open it with the CPS, you will be presented with those frequencies. It's going to be an empty file, this one here. It won't have any configuration in the zones. It's just one frequency and one zone because it has to be by default. But your radio will be able to accept receive frequencies in those ranges and transmit frequencies in those ranges. And also I have already included the APRS settings that you could put inside, so when you activate it, it will transmit your position to any receiver around you. Don't forget here to put your call sign and the type as needed by APRS, and you're good to go. So that's the end of this video. I have to thank Baofeng again for sending me this radio. I found it to be pretty neat for its price. For me, the APRS function that is inside is pretty good. It's something that I could find useful when I'm outside to transmit my location. And of course the GPS function is always a plus to have with you. I would like to see that in more radios. I hope you found this presentation video useful, especially for the APRS programming and the CPS passwords. Be careful with what you change. What I showed you here, it was tested by me in my radio and it works. And I say this with the remark that I believe that ham radio operators should be more hackers and don't be afraid to break things. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, press like and subscribe to my channel for the next ones and to support me. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.